What's up, wannabes? This is your host, KD3. Welcome to the School of Hard Knockdowns. I'm going to be teaching you how to get good at fighting games today with this playlist. Before we start, I want to tell you about my origins just to give you an idea of what the process of improvement looks like. I was just smashing in Street Fighter 2 with my friend, and we were struggling to do the special moves on our characters. We also had a friend who would kick our butts in Street Fighter 4, and it got really frustrating. So I googled Street Fighter tournaments, and the first result was a Twitch link to EVO, which happened to be on at the time. We decided to watch the tournament, and Persona 4 Arena was on at the time. We started watching it, and it was actually really exciting to watch. We made a pact then and there to get good at fighting games, and once Street Fighter 4 was over, it was a done deal. My favorite fighting games of all time are Dead or Alive 4, Street Fighter 4, BlazBlue Central Fiction, King of Fighters 13, Under Night and Birth, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars, Skullgirls, Killer Instinct, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, Guilty Gear Xrd, and Persona 4 Arena. Enough about me, here's 6 tips to get you into fighting games. This first one I need to get out of the way right away. You don't need a stick to be good at fighting games. This is the biggest misconception about fighting games that I always have to debunk. All the people I know that want to get into it think that they need a stick to do well, probably because they've seen so many tournament players using them or because of the arcade. Yes, controller choice should strictly be a preference. Older games did favor sticks more due to the arcade, but nowadays the fighting games are made with pad players in mind. If you've been watching tournaments, you would probably notice that in Street Fighter 6, most players are using controllers. The 2-time Capcom Cup champion Mena RD uses a PS4 controller, but if you really want to use a stick, I would recommend the Quanba drone. It's a perfect entry-level stick for beginners. Sticks are a commitment, so see if you like this one before you get a more expensive one. There's also leverless controllers which offer more precision. For the love of God, use a wired connection.
This is an Ethernet!
Unfortunately, while I was trying to improve, fighting games were using delay-based netcode, so I couldn't play with people too far away from me without ruining the experience. The problem with using Wi-Fi is that it's extremely unstable due to how easily its signal can be interfered with. Things like fans, microwaves, and even other people using it can drastically reduce your stability and lead to an unfun experience for you and your opponent. I understand some people can't just easily directly connect to a router for whatever reason, but that's fine. What I would recommend to you is to get a power line adapter. There will be no option selecting your way out of this one. This lets you get a much more stable connection without moving your router from its original spot. Just plug one adapter into the router and plug another one into your preferred device. Pair it with an Ethernet switch and you can have all of your devices wired up. However, I would not recommend using a power line adapter if your house is too old or you live in an apartment complex due to the quality of the wiring in your walls determining what kind of speeds you get, plus other people, occupying those walls. If you have this issue, there's still one thing you can do. You can purchase a mesh router and use one of them to connect to your devices with Ethernet. It may not be as good as straight up wired, but it will get the job done. The only downside is that they can be pretty expensive. Whatever it takes to get you wired up. There's some people out there that don't care and will just tell others to deal with it, but be warned that newer fighting games are starting to catch on, and they now have Wi-Fi indicators that tell you if your opponent's using Wi-Fi before playing. If you decide to keep using Wi-Fi, most of your matches will probably be rejected because the people playing wired want to have a good experience and Wi-Fi is too unstable to guarantee that. Fighting games are probably the genre where your monitor choice matters the most. If your display is too laggy, your inputs won't be responsive, which can be extremely frustrating. You'll have trouble adjusting to good monitors if you go to an in-person event. Some people want to play on their big TVs, and in most cases this is a no-go since they prioritize visuals over performance, unless you get one that's way more expensive. Luckily, there's an input lag database that shows you how much input lag each monitor on their site has. Just find a cheap one with low input lag to ensure you have a good experience. I will leave a link in the description. If you want to go out and play at local events with other people for offline practice, you're going to want to use Facebook, Reddit, or Discord. Just search whatever your state or city is in FGC or fighting games and you'll find it. If you don't have a local scene, don't fret. Most of the new games have playable netcode now, so you can improve from staying at home and practicing. But you should still go to your locals. In-person events are always more fun. Hey, who knows? It could probably change your life. The last tip I have is that you should be playing to learn, not to win. You're the only one to blame when you lose in a fighting game. Do not blame your character. You chose them. Don't blame someone else. You can't because fighting games are 1v1. Don't blame your opponent. Actually, go ahead and blame them. They were better than you. You're going to be losing a lot when you're starting out, and focusing on winning will rob you of opportunities to improve due to your own short-sightedness. I didn't have help when trying to improve, so I've been through it all. Getting hit with the same move, getting teabagged bagged on, getting sandbagged on, supers in my face, the works. Even the best fighting game players have a huge amount of losses, but in those losses lie your opportunity to improve. If you can't accept that you're going to lose and that it's all your fault, then maybe fighting games aren't for you. Take yourself back to Valorant. But if you can hold yourself accountable, you'll find that this method of improvement doesn't only apply to fighting games, but real life as well. To reiterate, you don't need a stick. Use what you prefer. Get a Quamba drone if you want to try stick, then get a better stick if you like using a stick, or you could try a leverless controller. Get a wired connection. If you can't move your router, get a power line adapter or a mesh router. Get a monitor with low input lag if you don't have one. Use the displaylag.com database to find a good monitor. Use Facebook, Reddit, or Discord to find your local fighting game scene. Remember that when you lose, it's your fault and nobody else's. There's always something you could have done better, whether you win or you lose, and your losses are your biggest opportunity to figure that out. I'll be linking some other articles that can help you improve as well. With that out of the way, we can get started on the road to improvement.